Here's a quick one. I got in an argument with one of my best friends from childhood because we went somewhere and he said, "Well, I don't understand why these black people don't clean up their neighborhood." And my head almost went like around my head 3 times. And I said, first and foremost, black people are not responsible for their conditions when it comes to America. Literally, we are all here doing the best we can. And in other places, black people are doing the best they can. And so just the fact that you have some kind of feeling that there's different black people and certain black people are deserving of certain grace or certain this or certain that, that is anti-blackness right there. That is anti-blackness. Would you say that about a white person? So you know how in America we have tons of school shootings? Literally, people walk into guns and blow kids away, right? Do you ever hear people saying, well, white people, that's what they do. They just shoot up schools. No, but you hear people make generalizations about black people, and you don't hear black people defend themselves. What you hear is some black people get on the bandwagon. That's anti-blackness. That's because it's a safer space emotionally and psychologically to hate yourself than to stand up for yourself. So like you talked about, freedom is a price, right? All those people I named, where they at now? They in exile somewhere, right? Or they dead, right? Because if you amass power, right, to try to free people and help people, you're not going to be able to, back to you use the British and America situation. That didn't happen with some kind little tea party, right? That was an all-out revolt. That was a war. And so if black people think that they're going to have a DEI department in the government or in a company or in anything else that's going to fight and give them equal pay and equal this, and to your point, take them out of their economic condition. No, because I have to keep you worried about your next meal. I have to keep you worried about how do you get to work when gas is $6 a gallon. I have to keep you focused on your basic needs so you don't have time to sit in front of an iMac and do a podcast or an interview and talk about how, anti-blackness is the thing that is driving, right, all of this other activity. So the way to tackle it is to confront it, is to, when you hear people say something that's anti-black, you say, no, no, no. Sorry, no. Would you say that to a white person? Would you be happy getting treated like black people? Right? So that's because that's the question. The question is, if you don't think nothing is wrong with America or the world, or if racism doesn't exist, or you say you don't understand black people get treated like everybody else, would you be happy being treated like a black person? Would you trade skin with me today? And would you be black for 24 hours, 48 hours, 20 minutes? Would you get behind the wheel of a car and drive while black? Right? And so the reason that those things are how they are is because of anti-blackness. Because if you're not black, you always can say, at least I'm not black. So the question is, when are people going to care? Because it could be them one day, right? But for a black person, it has to be, I love myself. I'm young, gifted, and black. Black is beautiful. I believe everything that was ever sung to me about the beauty and the brilliance of blackness and of black people, right? And I still remember it, right? So maybe this is one of those remembrance kind of things, right? You know how when you think about, spirituality, right? And you think about God and you think about coming back and you think about faith and you think about that concept of remembrance, right? So maybe this is a remembrance for black people. It's a remembrance for Africans all around the world, right? A remember home, remember where you come from, remember who you are, and live who you are. Don't live somebody's bull story that they told you. Live the true story, which is you are descendants of kings and queens, no matter what people tell you. And so it's up to you to decide. how you going to live. And I choose, it's my duty to fight, and I'm choosing to fight. And so, okay, if I get kicked off LinkedIn, that's okay. We can make videos and put them on YouTube, right? We can do other things, right? And so it's going to be what it's going to be.
It's going to be what it's going to be. I want to believe that if people really organize themselves and they stand, they will have a stand. They will have a land to stand on. But if they don't organize themselves, we're just like shooting at random. We're not going to get anything at the end of the day. Well, we might succeed in blaming somebody, but we're not going to get anything. A number of times I've asked a simple questions. How come in the time of Marcus Garvey, he was able to organize a people that much, have a shipping line with a mission? But today, a lot of people put together, they cannot do the same. Are we lacking the focus? Or is it because we don't think it is enough, what we have suffered is enough, or we don't think we really deserve it? Because I believe that some people are having a wrong impression of what freedom is. That after we have suffered so much, maybe the Europeans are going to say, okay, let's see, let's pardon them. You see, they have suffered enough now. Let's set them free. Let's leave Africa for them. Let's go back to Europe. But this is wrong because it's never going to happen. You see, the apartheid regime in South Africa, they didn't plan any exit. Their decision, what they had in mind was to have the system go on forever. Until somebody stood a ground and they said they are ready to die. Of course, I know that a lot of compromise was made and here and there. But we shouldn't think that your oppressor is going to be tired. It's not going to be tired. It's always going to invent other means, other ways to make sure that the system go on. That is why I think we must look for a way to free ourselves. Because nobody is coming to free us. It's not going to happen. All right, now let's look at the economies. Because we talk about the fact that the behavior that we have today is not by accident. It is part of the design. And we also talk about the fact that poverty is being weaponized. It is weaponized in Africa. I want to believe that it's also weaponized in the United States. A good example would be, look at the prison industrial complexes. How much billions of dollars people are making out of that. You just pretend that we don't understand it. What is happening there is another version of slavery, where the people are put in chain. But this time, let's say legally. Slavery is over, yes. But what if we do it another way? It can still be done another way. That is why the oppressor is never going to free. They don't have the intention of free you. It is you that is going to free yourself, or you will never be free. Okay, the economies. What do you think we can do there? What role does maybe our ability to put food on our table play in being able to work in this anti-blackness, so that we can be proud of who we are, but at least also be able to provide our needs? Because if you cannot provide your needs, after you make your noise, tomorrow you are going to depend on somebody else who is going to give you the condition based upon which you are going to get the basic necessity. Tell me about the economies for our liberation.
Yeah. So first of all, right, in America, the black dollar is worth, I want to say the number is it went up to 3 trillion. So 1 trillion 0.2 or something like that, right? So first and foremost, to understand that even though, right, poverty in and of itself is a business, and poverty is in of itself a way for rich people to make money, right? That one of the tools to economic freedom, right, is for people to have and start their own businesses, right, in the community and to do business in the community. So rather than take our money and spend it outside the community, we need to spend it inside. So if we are talking about, all of these diversity, equity, inclusion efforts or things, that are happening inside companies and corporations and institutions, right? Any effort, first of all, to your point, right, inside some company, those efforts are going to always fail. It's like if you think that the slave master was going to eventually let the slaves leave, that was never going to happen. So, to your point, right? No one is coming. And so, what we have to do economically is number one, recognize and realize that we are worth being paid how much our work should be valued for, and not less, because we spent centuries working for free and now still spend time getting exploited for our labor.